Welcome to the Event Marketing Seminar, a 7-minute webinar by Snoball. Welcome everyone for a new episode of Event Marketing Seminar by Snoball. I'm joined here today by the awesome Nancy Harhut. I'm a big fan, the author of the book, Using Behavioral Science in Marketing. So the idea here is that we wanted to talk a little bit about, human behavior and how can we influence that in a way to kind of direct certain actions that we want them to do. So what are some of the key elements that you consider that need to be there in considering a call to action?
All right. Well, that's a great question, Rachel. And first, let me just say thank you so much for having me. And so we'll get right to it. So if you're going to have a really good call to action, you want to make sure that it's specific. You want to make sure that it's action oriented. You want to make sure that there's some kind of a personal benefit in it. And the newest research shows that it should be written from the first person. So maybe you want to say something like, I want to see the newest trends, or I'm in, sign me up, or I can't miss this, or give me exclusive access. Jay Schwedelson, who I believe you've had on your show, actually found that you can get a 28% increase in the click-through rate if you write it in the first person. So I think that's really important. You want to be specific, action-oriented, benefit-driven, and write in the first person.
I saw also that you mentioned something at some point on your LinkedIn about the shapes of the button even and the coloring, like psychology behind that also makes a difference.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So there are two questions there, the shape and the color. So shape-wise, a lot of times, we think a button is a button is a button, and the big goal is to get someone to click it, and we don't really spend a lot of time thinking, oh, should my corners be squared off, sharp corners, or should they be more rounded? Should my button be more, I don't know, oblong or pill-shaped, or should it be more rectangular? And there's some research that indicates that actually the rounded buttons are a little bit more inviting. The sharp angular corners can kind of repel people, right? Whereas the rounded ones, they're a little bit more inviting, they're a little bit more inclusive. And there was some research that was done that showed that you get an increase in response if your buttons are rounded versus sharp, squared off corners. And then in terms of color, there's been a lot of research on button color. And really what it boils down to is you want the color of your button to stand out. You want it to contrast with whatever color scheme you have on your email, your website, your landing page. And a lot of times, designers want everything to look beautiful, or they're told we need to follow our corporate, brand colors.
And one thing I would add to that one is if you choose a color, let's say if it's red, the button, it has to be in a way consistent in everywhere that you use it so that they associate that color with the button, with the CTA a little bit everywhere that they see it.
And building on that, Rachel, if your email is then sending someone to a landing page to register, you want to have the visual in your email be the same as the visual on the landing page, and have the copy be the same as well, because when people land there, they're like, oh, I'm in the right place. Right? You've built that bridge. If the visual is different, if the copy is different, people are confused. It's like, wait, I came here because I was promised one thing, but this doesn't seem to be paying off the promise. And that produces friction, and that can actually lower response rate.
Yeah, so that brings me to the question. So we bring them to a landing page. Before they get to that call to action, what kind of buildup that we need to give them in a way to prep them to actually click on that button?
Sure. So here is where some great behavioral science principles come to bear. We're trying to get people to sign up, and obviously we want to get, butts and seats, right? That's what we want. But we need to look at, well, what does the prospective attendee want? Like, what's in it for them? What are they going to be looking for, and how are they going to make this decision? And very often people make decisions using decision-making shortcuts, right? We're cruising along on autopilot. We're not really putting on our thinking caps and weighing the pros and cons. We're just responding in the moment. And there are certain things that help nudge us in one direction or another. One of those things is social proof. If we think that a lot of people are going to be going to this event, then we're going to want to go. If we think that people who have our same title, or the title up above ours, the one that we aspire to, if we think they're going to be at the event, we think, well, then I should be at the event. If we see brands that we admire, companies that we admire, companies we hope to emulate, companies we compete against, right? If they're attending, we think, oh, we should be there. Then there's the idea of authority. If an authority says that this is a great event, if it's the Guru is the #1 online email event, it's like, well, all right, if it's the #1 event, I should be there. When the authorities say it, we think, well, they've done the research for us. It's their job to be the subject matter experts, to review everything and to distill it to what the best is. And so if an authority says this is the #1, it makes my job a lot easier. The other thing that we can look at is the idea of scarcity. If there are only a certain number of seats available, if something is going to be happening in your town, but it won't be back again for another year, that's scarcity. Then the flip side of that is exclusivity. Tickets are only available to certain people, or you're being invited because of who you are. You start to feel like, ooh, all right, not everyone can get in, but I can, so I better take the opportunity. So there are a lot of ways that we can use behavioral science to kind of tee up the moment before people encounter that call to action that make them that much more inclined to want to hit that button, to want to say, yes, I want in. People are more likely to do what we ask them to do when we give them a reason why. And it doesn't have to be this ironclad bulletproof reason. We don't have to say, oh, if you come to my conference, if you sign up for my event, within the next month, you'll become a millionaire. Everyone would be signing up.
I think you get a lot of sign-ups for that one.
But we would get a lot of signups. But the problem is we can't say that, because it's not true. We can't promise to make everyone a millionaire.
Yeah.
But even if we just say, sign up because you'll be able to advance your career, sign up because you're going to walk away with at least 3 takeaways you can apply the next day at the office, sign up because your colleagues are going to be there, just having some kind of a reason why. And using that word because is a great way to tee it up. When we see or hear the word because, we just start to automatically agree before we even process what comes next. We just assume whatever's coming after the word because is a good, legitimate reason, and we just start to agree. We don't want to get lazy with our language. We want to provide that reason why. We want to put ourselves into the mindset of our prospective attendees. What are they going to get out of it? And then, we have to remember to test. Sometimes we're so sure that we've got the right call to action. We're so sure that we've led up to it in the right way that we're overconfident. We just roll out with something. But sometimes, there could be a couple of different ways to say something, and the way that we think is the best way isn't always the best way. Or it works for one segment of our group, but doesn't work as well for another segment. So testing is really important.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for a lot. You're always packed with so much insight and so many ideas and tips. It's amazing. Always a pleasure talking to you. And thank you so much for joining me today.
The pleasure was absolutely mine, Rachel. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it.